Hi guys, I'm Pastor Akers here with another brief video. Today is, if you're watching the video on the day that it's posted, that is, today is September 21st, and this past Wednesday, September 16th, is the day that the church has historically commemorated a man named Cyprian of Carthage. And so I want to talk to you about Cyprian, who he was, and why some of his experiences might be relevant to the situation that we find ourselves in today. So stay with me and we'll do just that. Well, I brought you over here to this map because I want to start talking about Cyprian by explaining where he lived. And Cyprian was the bishop in Carthage. He became bishop in 248 or so. And interestingly, he was not a Christian, was converted later in life. He was converted, baptized, and then almost immediately became a bishop in Carthage. And now this was the best map that I could find around here of the Roman world to show you. You see some of Paul's missionary journeys on here. You see modern day Greece right here. This is the Italian peninsula. Egypt is down here. And of course, Africa goes across this way. Carthage is actually just off of this map, right about here on the map. So Carthage is in North Africa, and that is where Cyprian served as bishop. Now, the reason I want to talk about Cyprian is because he was bishop during one of the worst times of plague that the world has ever seen. The plague is also sometimes referred to as the Plague of Cyprian because he's the one who wrote most about it. So we know, about 5,000 people per day were dying of this horrible plague. And the plague started around 250, just a couple years after Cyprian became the bishop in Carthage. And the emperor of the Roman Empire at the time was a man named Decius, who was intent on blaming somebody for all the things that were happening, most especially this plague, and Decius blamed the Christians, who were becoming very prominent at that time. And so, interestingly, during Cyprian's time as bishop, he wrote a number of works. Probably the most relevant to this discussion is a work called On Mortality. And in that work, Cyprian is addressing his members, his fellow Christians who he knows are struggling with this pandemic that's going on around them. They're seeing their loved ones die. They're seeing their pagan neighbors scared of what's going on around them. They're practicing social distancing in a more extreme way than we are here in 2020. If some of their family members would get sick, they would literally just pack up and leave so they wouldn't get sick. But Cyprian encouraged his fellow Christians to not run away from the sickness, but to run into those who were sick and to help them regardless of their religious backgrounds or what was going on. And so Cyprian encouraged folks to do that. And in his work on mortality, he specifically addressed the fear that a lot of Christians were experiencing. They were asking questions like, why is God allowing us to suffer along with the pagans? And Cyprian's response was, look, we should expect that suffering is going to be a part of the Christian experience. Christ suffered, and we're going to suffer too, but we need to look to the hope that we have at Christ's resurrection on Easter Sunday, that his resurrection will too be our resurrection once we go through the sufferings of this life. We have that to look forward to. And so Cyprian encouraged the Christians of his day to have hope in that resurrection. And so I would encourage you, whether you're watching this now as we're going through this time of pandemic or at some point down the line, to remember where your hope lies. It lies in the resurrection of Jesus, that he will return one day and raise us to life, to live forever with him. So thanks for joining me for this brief video on Cyprian of Carthage. And if you have any further questions, leave those in the comments. Otherwise, I will see you next time. God bless.